Welcome back to the Conscious Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm here today to talk in tremendous detail about the upcoming Conscious Entrepreneur Summit. It's happening on May 28th and 29th in Boulder, Colorado. As many of the listeners of this podcast already know, it's a big deal. It's what we look forward to every year. It's very much our flagship event, and it's probably the only in-person event that is 100% dedicated to the well-being of entrepreneurs. I spend 364 days a year planning and thinking about this event. I do take one day off after every event so that I don't have to do that, but look forward to getting into it with you today. And I'm joined today by Sarah Lockwood. Sarah is someone who I've known for a long time. She is the supporter of this podcast insofar as we use her company HiveCast to do all the editing, the production, the distribution of this podcast. This is someone that you'll be hearing a lot more from in the future. She's been a part of our community for years and has been to the Conscious Entrepreneur Summit before. And we thought it'd be fun to do a little bit of back and forth Q&A type of stuff. So Sarah, great to see you. Welcome.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. And I am really happy to ask the questions that people who are thinking about the event and considering attending might be asking on their behalf. So this is going to be a great resource for somebody who might be kicking the tires or thinking about it a little bit. And I just want to encourage you guys to listen because we have a ton to share.
Awesome. And you've been an entrepreneur many times. You have a lot of experience in this area. So you're in essence like the ICP, the target customer for the Conscious Entrepreneur Summit.
That's right. I am.
So let's get into it. Shall we share the rundown of the days? Do we want to start off with any particular questions? What's best here?
Yeah, I think that people are really, who are considering attending the event, are really thinking about where is the value in the time, right? Everybody who is attending this event is probably thinking to themselves, man, this is a lot of time to be out of the office. This year, we've done something different where they can kind of personalize their agenda and the time they want to be out of the office based on what's most important to them. So it might be a good place to start to just talk about how the structure of the event is different this year than in years past.
Yeah, great. And so this is a little bit of a follow-on to the discussion that we had a few weeks ago where we did a preview of the event. Now, since then, turns out we've got a lot more clarity on the event, on the agenda, and on the speakers. So I'll recap that, and then we'll get into kind of each speaker and why I'm excited about having them there. So we purposely designed this event to have two separate days. One is May 28th, which we're calling day one, surprise, surprise. And the other one's day two, May 29th. And it's not 2 days of the same format. So that's really important for people to know. Like, sometimes you think, oh, I got to be out of the office for 2 full days. That's not really the case with Conscious Entrepreneur. You can, of course, come to both, and many people are. You can also decide to come to one or the other, and you're going to have a full and intact experience if you do that. And that's really important, especially for people who are like, I got a lot going on, or it's vacation time and they don't necessarily want to spend the time being out of the office. So let me explain a little bit about the event. As we talked about before, the main theme of this year is exponential growth. So 10x growth. How do we really 10x our businesses, just blow the doors off the stuff that we're doing? And sometimes, I get the question, it's like, well, that sounds sort of like a normal conference. Like there's a lot of business conferences that talk about growth. How does this link into the inner journey? How does this link into the themes of Conscious Entrepreneur? And here's how I'd like to frame that. Here's how I want you to start thinking about that. So many of the people who are in the Conscious Entrepreneur community want to make a big impact in the world. They want to do great things. They want to make their mark in the universe. They want to help people. They want to create real businesses so that they can then, help different people and really build something significant. You can't have the impact that you want if you're stuck in first gear, right? If your business is just kind of sitting there growing at 5% a year and it's 2 people, 3 people, $1 million, $500,000, $2 million, whatever it is, and it's just kind of inching along, you're not able to get out there and really manifest your vision and truly make stuff happen in the world. And so I want to encourage people to figure out what's in my way, what's blocking me, what's preventing me from getting the business I want and the life I want and making the impact I want. So that's why the overall theme this year is 10x. I think we're all going to benefit. Like all of us entrepreneurs are going to benefit from really growing ourselves and our company. So that's the overall theme.
And I love looking at the agenda. I understand that we're looking at that same concept from a lot of different lenses. Um, a lot of the speakers are going to be sort of exploring the idea of 10xing based on their own unique point of view, and maybe expanding our minds about different ways that that can happen. So it's gonna have a real like 360 view of your inside, the inside work, the outside work, um, coming at us from all different directions. So it's going to be an amazing lineup. You have added a lot of
We
incredible
have.
people since we talked last. So can we hit the highlights? Do you want to
Sure.
share some of the
Yeah.
big names? Yeah,
Let's go
let's
through
drop
this,
some.
the agenda.
Yeah,
No,
let's drop some big names here, Alex.
well, so first on the 10x front, we've talked about this before, and he's been on the podcast. Dr. Benjamin Hardy is the author of the book 10x is easier than 2x. He's written a bunch of other books, really well known organizational psychologist. He's studied entrepreneurial courage. He knows a lot of entrepreneurs. All of his tools and work and books are really focused for founders and entrepreneurs. So Ben Hardy, I'm super excited about having with us. Now, the cool thing about having Ben here is we're doing the 3-hour workshop with him on the 28th. This
Right.
means, we have an opportunity to learn from the OG, right, in terms of the guy who wrote the book on 10X. And what we're going to do there is just really get into what it takes. Like, what does it look like when we are getting out of incremental mode and we're getting into exponential mode? And then the cool thing is he's coming back on the 29th for a keynote address. So he's coming back on the 29th for a keynote, more like, in a summit format. So we're getting workshop and keynote for him. While I'm on the topic, let me explain a little bit more about day one and kind of what that's going to look like, because then we can hit on some of the speakers who are going to be there and in the next one. So day one was originally described as, okay, we're going to get Ben Hardy here for 3 hours, and I was like, that's awesome. Let's do it in the afternoon. And then I started thinking, well, what else do we want to do around this? And I thought, actually, if we're going to go into a workshop on 10x, then we want to be figuring like, what sort of pre-work do we need to do? What mind shifts do I need to make before I get into the room with Ben Hardy? And so I collaborated with two of my friends, Rhett Taylor and Christina Poindexter, and we are going to do a curated outside workshop, basically like a pre-workshop workshop outdoors in Boulder at the Sunrise Amphitheater, which is up Flagstaff Road. And everyone's going to meet there with me, Rhett, and Christina before the session with Ben Hardy. And what that's
And
going to allow us to do.
what could be more conscious entrepreneur than let's start outside?
Totally. Well,
Yeah, let's
this
get
is the thing, is
outside.
like we can get outside. It's going to be a beautiful day. We can
Right.
see, get some fresh air and sunshine, connect with one another. Plus, remember, the first day is only going to be 60 people, right? So we're purposely limiting it. And by the way, as of this recording, we have sold 59 of those 60 seats. There's literally one seat left. So awesome. Now, what that means is, so Rhett, Christina, and I are going to go through and like help people figure out, what are the mindsets that are holding me back? What assumptions have I made about my life or my business or who I am or whatever that's preventing me from growing? What are the things I really want to question? How do I start to vision up, my life? And these are people who have done it. So Rhett has been an entrepreneur for a long time. He was formerly the co-founder and co-CEO of Ned, which got acquired last year. He's someone who's been to Conscious Entrepreneur several times. Christina Poindexter, again, tremendous entrepreneur. She's worked at Techstars. She's done all sorts of cool stuff along her journey as well. So these are people who know what it feels like to be there and be like, I want to grow. I want to get better. I want to get bigger. I want to make an impact. And it's gonna be really fun. So we're gonna meet up there in the morning, do 2.5 hours worth of stuff together, grab lunch, and then head down to the workshop with Ben Hardy. So we're going to be totally primed and ready to go. Then we've got this great session with Ben to go through his process, right? Like the rigorous process and discipline of how to 10x, because this is not just something I want to dream up. This is, I want to then learn the steps, what to say yes to, what to say no to, how to think about it, how to really have the system and the discipline for me to be able to get there. And that's what he's going to be bringing to us. Now, the cool thing is, it's not just I'm watching some sage on stage, as they say, right?
Ah,
So it's not just that. It's not just me consuming the content that's coming off the stage. I'm in a room with 60 other entrepreneurs who are all trying to get from 1 million to 10 million or 2 million to 20 or what, wherever they are in their business. So we're supporting each other, right? And we're creating accountabilities and connections. And we're also going to have a post-event like mini mastermind to keep the energy up, right? So
I
that's something
love
that we're
it.
doing as well.
Well,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's obviously been wildly well received. I know this community loves to kind of put the ideas to work. And so thank you for making that a more interactive portion of the event. And it sounds like obviously it's almost sold out. Probably by the time this airs, it will be. So let's talk about the rest of the day for
Yeah.
people who won't be able to participate in that.
Sure. So actually one last thing before I get to the 29th. Uh, every year we try to do something fun and different at the Conscious Entrepreneur Summit. So last year we had this like soundscape and meditation thing that was, kind of like lights and like sort of psychedelic-y without the drugs. That was super cool. In previous years, we've had drum circles at Conscious Entrepreneur Summit, which are great. This year, we're going bowling. So we're literally taking everybody from the workshop and we're going to go bowling and kind of let loose and relax and enjoy and play and have some fun on the evening of the 28th. So that's for people who are coming to the workshop.
That's
Then,
awesome.
yeah, pivoting then to the 29th. So the 29th is going to be, Sarah, kind of like a bigger format event, a couple hundred people in the ballroom at the University of Colorado. And we've got the day really, really structured and frankly pretty jammed. So there's
Yep.
there's a lot going on, and we are teeing up this whole thing around, again, 10x growth. So we're starting the day with a session around how to get your nervous system ready for 10x growth, because we know that a lot of the blocks are internal, and so it's us resisting growth, it's us resisting risk, it's us resisting putting ourselves out there. So we're
Right.
going to start with a session on how to regulate the nervous system and get that all jazzed and fired up and ready. So that's cool. That's going to tee us up for then Ben Hardy's talk. His talk on day 2 is going to be called The Science of Scaling. And this is based on his new book of that same name, Science of Scaling, which is coming out in July. And amazingly, he and his team have offered to give us 200 copies of the book, the galley copies of the book. So before it
Oh,
comes
wow.
out
That's
in
awesome.
public, he's going to
Okay.
send us a bunch of those copies. So super cool that he's gifting us those. And it means that we get a preview of this. So he's going to talk about the science of scaling, basically how to do 10x. Like I said, shorter format, maybe 45, 60 minutes, something like that talk.
And
Then
that
we,
you generally just I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you often offer like a live Q&A with those speakers. Is that going to be part of Ben's um, keynote?
everybody always loves to come and talk to the speakers. So
Yeah.
without a doubt, we'll have Q&A, and then afterwards, like his talk is actually going to be right before lunch. So then
Hmm.
at lunch, tons of people are going to go up to him, get their book signed, have Q&A discussions with him, and so on. So we're going to do that for sure, because a big part of the nice thing about Conscious Entrepreneur is it's not that big of an event. So you
Hmm.
do get to interact with the speakers. Like we've all been to events where the speakers just come out from behind a black curtain on stage and they do their little shtick and then they go away and that's it.
Right.
In Conscious Entrepreneur, they're just hanging out in the room the whole time. So plenty of
Totally. I
opportunity.
remember last year talking to Ryan Holiday. He gave me a personal inscription in my book, which was so
Yeah.
sweet. And it was cool. People really loved getting to ask questions and have them answered, directly from him. And I'm happy that we're going to have that opportunity with Dr. Hardy as again at this event. So that'll be really cool. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for making that available.
So after Ben, then we have a session from Michael Freeman. Michael Freeman is basically the top psychologist in the world for entrepreneurs, like psychologist, psychiatrist. He is someone who has studied the inner workings and the mental health of entrepreneurs more than pretty much anyone out there. He's been on the podcast before. He wrote this really important paper called Are Entrepreneurs Touched with Fire? And his talk is going to be about the personal part of 10x. So the title of his talk is How Entrepreneurship is an Opportunity for 10x Personal Growth. So, he's going to therefore share, what does this mean for our psychology, for our insides, right? What does it mean to get ready and express ourselves in that kind of way?
And he's going to give us, I mean, he's been a huge advocate for mental health for entrepreneurs. He is somebody who has a nonprofit, Icona, I think it's called.
Yep, his
Yep.
company's called Econa. Yeah.
Yep. And I think he's going to be offering like practical science-based tips for the people in the room. So we're going to have some ways to, it's not theoretical. This is going to be applied tips and tricks to just help all of us
For sure.
entrepreneurs make it all make sense in our heads. I don't think he's actively going to be offering any psychiatric support, but no.
Well, look, I mean, he's someone who's just been there, done that, and worked with so
Yeah.
many people over the time. And he's an MD, right? So a
Mm-hmm.
psychiatrist is an MD. So someone who really knows what's going on. And he's done a lot of research in the space, got a lot of current research programs in this space. So just being in the same room with him is going to be a real treat. Like, it's going to be really cool.
Excellent. And then we have another big Boulder name on the roster.
Yeah, we
You want to,
do. We do.
yeah,
Brad Feld, probably one of the best known investors, entrepreneurs, people in the community in, dare I say, all of Colorado, who's a very significant
certainly.
name for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, his company, Foundry Group, has backed all sorts of really interesting companies. He's co-founder of Techstars back in the day. Someone who's been very deep in the Colorado startup
Yep.
ecosystem, and frankly, the entire tech ecosystem around the country, and someone who has been a true advocate for the entrepreneur, and someone who supports entrepreneurs, is well known for doing that, and is also well known for talking openly about his challenges. So the things that he's
Absolutely.
gone through along his journey, which you don't see that often on the VC side. The VCs being very open and vulnerable. Brad is someone who really shows that, displays that, and is a model for a lot of us.
Absolutely. And I think if anybody is planning to attend the event and wants to know a little bit more about Brad, his blog, which he's had for years, is really a fun read. He's super intellectual. His interests are hugely diverse. Um, but it is a place where he's very vulnerable. He shares a lot of his personal thoughts and insights that are often quite controversial. That blog is called, I think it's called, yeah, Feld Thoughts. So it's actually probably pretty fun to check that out before you attend, just to have a little bit more context and insight from
Yeah,
Brad.
great tip. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure, for
yeah.
sure. Uh, he's really just just such a warm person. Has got a ton of insight because he's seen so many entrepreneurs, and he's
Hmm.
been in all the battles, right?
Oh,
And
literally. I mean, he must have
yeah,
been a part of hundreds of thousands of deals. I mean, over going all the way back to like Mobius and all. I mean, just when you think of the impact he's had in Colorado and through Techstars, he's got to have seen every kind of deal, and he'll have so much to share with us. But
yeah,
he has a lot of broad interests. So I'm excited to hear, everything that he wants to share in his presentation. And he has a new
yeah.
book.
It's so
Yeah.
his format's going to be like a fireside chat, so like a 30-minute
Mhm.
30-minute chat. He also has a new book coming out called Give First. Everyone who bought early bird tickets to the summit is getting a free copy of his book. Early bird's now
Nice.
closed, but everyone who bought the tickets is getting a free copy. Anyone who didn't get early bird, his books are going to be available there, and he'll also be around throughout. Another recent addition that I'm super excited about, very well known Colorado CEO, built a tremendous company, and then went through an unbelievable personal challenge herself, is Rachel Romer, who is the co-founder, former CEO of Guild Education. This is a company that super successful, has a ton of traction, built a really impressive company, brand, culture. She's very well known. They'd raised like oodles of money. Were valued at
Mhm.
$4 billion, I think, in their latest funding round. So like really successful company. And then had a really, really significant health event about 3 years ago where she had a stroke. And so this is someone who like literally like flying high, peak of her career, has this massive health event, has to um, retire from the company to look after herself, switch out to a new transition to a new CEO, go through her entire recovery and healing process. And only in the past few months is she back out talking about what's been going on, sharing things publicly. And so it's a real treat. It's a real honor for Rachel to be joining us to talk about what that was like. And she's going to be interviewed on stage by Terrence Cummings, who used to work for her at Guild. So Terrence was there. He used to be the chief opportunity officer at Guild, someone who worked very closely with Rachel. And he is a very bright, credible interviewer himself, like really awesome person. And sharing the story together, I think, is going to be incredibly impactful. So they're going to do this talk together. He's basically going to interview her, talk about the journey, what was going on, what was that like, what's next. And I think this is going to be one of these just like blow you away type of moments.
Absolutely. There's so much to learn from these types of stories about ways we can see around the corner. These things do happen. And as entrepreneurs who are, putting so much into our businesses, I think you never want to imagine these things happen, but sometimes hearing someone else's story can spur you to kind of take that inward look into the what ifs
Mm-hmm.
and make sure you're protected. And also just, I think hearing the true vulnerable stories here can really be wonderful to hear and also impactful for us to think about bringing some of these things that can actually happen. We have to take care of ourselves and
We
these
have to.
major health events. It's mental, it's physical, and we're humans, right? We're vulnerable humans, so we have to really do the work.
Yeah, we're humans first, and we forget that sometimes. And this is one
Yeah,
of those stories that's just really gonna bring it home for us. So
yeah,
really honored that Rachel is going to be there. Really glad that Terrence is going to help us to share that story. Another local
awesome.
CEO I'm excited to host is Jim Dieters. Jim is founder and CEO of Gravity House, which is a
Yeah,
really fantastic. Uh, they've got hotels, co-working, gym, restaurant. Like they've got sites in Vale, Breckenridge, Aspen,
they're
Steamboat,
everywhere
Winter
in
Park, Jackson
Colorado.
Hole, all
Yeah,
over the place. Yeah,
hmm,
and he is
yeah,
someone that no doubt is a 10x entrepreneur, right? So this
yeah,
is a guy who thinks big, gets out there, makes things happen. Before
gets it
Gravity
done.
House, he was the CEO and founder of Galvanize, which is a co-working space
Hmm.
and education company here in Colorado. So really well known. He's hard charging, no BS, very serious person. And I'll tell you what, I like to have people like this at the Conscious Entrepreneur Summit because sometimes people hear the word conscious and they're like, oh, this is just for, kind of a bunch of hippie people or, low impact CEOs and solopreneurs. No, 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 no. And Jim is a perfect example of this, someone who can be, building a significant business fast, right? So this guy is moving quickly and at the same time, interesting and committed and energizing and so on. So I think this is going to be a great example. So we're going to chat
Yeah.
to Jim about his journey and learn more about that. And Gravity House is just a great contributor back to the entrepreneurial ecosystem because of their spaces, which are so awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a fun way to kind of connect with a brand that we've probably all interacted with in some format. Like you said, they're sort of everywhere in Colorado and certainly in the West. And so I think it's super fun to get a little bit more personally connected to these brands by hearing the behind the scenes stories, the things we don't know, and getting a little bit of a human face to this brand. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that one's going to be
Yeah.
great. And then two other well-known, specifically in Boulder, local entrepreneurs are Jill Emmich and her sister Jessica Emmich. Now, these are two of the three sisters behind Shine. If you've been in Boulder for a while, you'll remember the restaurant that used to be down on 13th Street. Shine. It was a great restaurant with all sorts of like handmade potions and concoctions and incredible food and an event space in the back. And then it moved, but they've built this whole community around what they do called Shine Living Community. And they're both really active, meaning like in yoga, in dance. In fact, Jill teaches dance at the studio my wife goes to for exercise and gym, right? So very these are people who are really deep into the Boulder ethos and the Boulder community, have an incredible story with Shine and with the Shine Living community. And what they're going to be doing is sharing their experience of building a business and the highs and lows and ups and downs of doing that. And they're going to take us through some movement and body and dancing and stuff like that. So it certainly would never be Conscious Entrepreneur without us doing something to jump up and down. during the
Never,
day?
never. We do not sit in our seats and take notes at these events. There's always an element. I think last year we did some yoga. Sounds like this year we're going to be doing some expressive movement. Sounds
That's right.
amazing. I'm up for it.
Yeah. So those are all the sessions that we've got. We
Yeah.
really spend a lot of time curating a through line. So the through line this year is 10x growth. You're going to
Hmm.
hear from tremendous people. You're going to get access that you don't normally get to. Like, yes, you can go see Ben Hardy or Brad Feld in a room with 2,000 people and like not even get to talk to them, or you can come to Conscious Entrepreneur and literally like be sitting next to them at your table or at lunch or going up and have a chat with them and stuff like that. And by the way, same for Rachel Romer and Jim Dieters and like all these really, really interesting people. So I think that's a big part of what we're doing here is providing access to this, because a lot of us entrepreneurs, we have this misconception in our mind that we're the only ones facing whatever challenge, whatever hill we're climbing, right? We're like, oh, no
Hmm.
one's ever done this before. And then you get into a room like at Conscious Entrepreneur and realize, oh, there's a whole group of people who are supportive, who have been there, done that, who can help me along my way. You make friends, you make connections, you get some insights, you get some ideas, you get some inspiration. That's what we're doing here. So the 2 days are going to be pretty packed. Like
Yep.
nobody's going to be feeling like, boy, I wish there was more content in these days, right? There's going to be a lot of stuff there. We're going to be pushing you. We're going to be pushing you because we know the value of getting you to unlock your 10x growth. Like, I know it's there. And sometimes you need a nudge. Sometimes you need some information. Sometimes you need a little, extra energy to go out and get there. And that's what we're going to be doing.
All right. So, Alex, for the people who are ready to say yes, where do they go? How much do they need to get their checkbook out? Tell us the numbers. Tell us the
Yeah,
investment.
let's do it. Let's do it. So the website's consciousentrepreneur.us. It's two words that are hard to spell, but it's easy to find us on. It's easy to find us on LinkedIn and on the webs. No big deal, everybody. The price for the ticket is $5.99 for the summit itself, or $9.99 for both days. Now, like I said, there's not a lot of both days left because the day one workshop is essentially full. So if you do go to buy a ticket, it's full. Then the summit itself is $5.99. So totally want you to come there. Be prepared. If you get lucky, get the 2-day ticket. If that's something that you're able to do. Otherwise, we'll see you on May 29th. And one other thing I just want to share is we do this really fun tradition of hosting connection dinners. So these are community
Yes.
dinners after the event. Yeah, they're great. So the way it works is once we break up around, let's call it 5:30 or so on the 29th, the community will host their own dinners around Boulder. And these are typically 6 to 8, groups of 6 to 8 people organized on a theme. So we might
Hmm.
have a theme on uh, how to survive the stress of being an entrepreneur. We might have a theme on mindset. We might have a theme on how to do sales or marketing. Some of them can get pretty tactical, which is great. And people are they're not pitching these; they're leading a discussion on the topic.
Right.
So we typically stay aligned to the topic and continue the conversations that happened during the day. So the host is simply the person who's kind of organizing the container. Everybody pays for their own dinner, but it's a great way to go deeper with some of the people you met during the day, continue that conversation, learn a little bit more, connect a little bit more with folks. So we love those. Those will happen directly after the summit. And I think I've already got 3 or 4 people lined up to host them. There's probably going to be like 8 or so in
Right.
total. Yeah.
And they're small groups. So it is
Mm-hmm.
a nice way to continue to build rapport and community with people that share an interest, of course, because each one of these has a theme. So you'll be with people who care about the same thing that you're interested in. And it's a small group, like 8 to 10 people.
Yep.
So it's great conversation and great community.
Yeah. And hopefully you're going to host one.
I will host one. Yes, I am. I am hosting one. I'm kind of refining exactly what I want to talk about. I think we're going to be talking about building personal brand,
Ooh, I like
and
it.
different ways to do that. Certainly through podcasting is one of those, and that's something that I love to talk about. And I love to talk about that with entrepreneurs. So I will be hosting a community dinner.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. The
Yeah.
last thing I'll mention before we wrap up here is, one of the most important things when you come to an event like the Conscious Entrepreneur Summit is keeping the momentum up and keeping the progress after the event. Like, it's so common. You go to an event, you get all excited, you got to see all this inspiration, and then boop, like within 2 days, you're right back down to the same baseline.
You never
And
look
we
at
like
those
to,
notes again.
yeah, and you never
Yeah.
look at your notes again, and you never call the
Yeah.
person you said you were going to call, or
Right.
you never find them on LinkedIn or whatever it is. And so we're gonna offer at the summit kind of a post-event integration sessions, and we're going to do these online. It'll be something like 4 or 6 Zoom calls. And so if you come to the event and then you want to keep the inspiration up, you want to keep going, we will have an option for people to continue in that way, to meet over a certain period of time, stay connected, keep the ideas and energy flowing. So it's kind of like pre-built integration for the Conscious Entrepreneur Summit.
Love it. Yeah, activate all these great ideas, put them to work in your business, in your personal life, and get to do that with this community. So that is going to be a really, really nice add-on. And of course, you can always keep the Conscious Entrepreneur feeling alive with listening to this podcast. So if you have other entrepreneurial friends, other CEOs, other founders, other people who you think should, tap into this, it's available every single week.
100%, 100%. And we're like almost 90 episodes in, have interviewed incredible people. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up as well. So there's plenty to learn from the Conscious Entrepreneur podcast as well.
Yeah.
Hey, great to chat with you about this. And everyone who's listening, if you've already bought your ticket, I'll see you on May 28th and 29th. If you haven't yet, or you're still considering, please do so. We would love to have you as part of our community. Thanks so much for listening in, everybody.